An assistant director at the Corrupt Practices Investigation Bureau has been charged with misappropriating at least $1.7 million from the Bureau, the largest amount ever involving a CPIB officer. 39-year-old Edwin Yeo Seow Hiong is accused of 21 offences allegedly committed between 2008 and 2012. Claire Huang reports.
Edwin Yeo, CPIB's head of field research and technical support, was in custody when he appeared in court. Yeo had served in the Bureau for 15 years. Of the 21 charges served to him on Tuesday, 8 are for misappropriating $1.7 million in agency funds. The alleged amount was intended for the purchase of his department's goods and services. One charge was for forgery. The remaining 12 charges relate to him using some $241,000 of what he had allegedly misappropriated to gamble at Marina Bay Sands Casino. $67,000 has been recovered. During the short court session, Yeo asked for time to settle his family affairs and to make his own representations and to prepare for mitigation. He says he does not plan to engage a counsel, and he also asked for a lower bail amount. He says he is of low flight risk, but the prosecution has asked for bail to be set at $500,000 due to the seriousness of the offences, and the court agreed. In a statement, the CPIB said it first discovered Yeo's alleged acts in September last year. He was suspended from duty the next day. The matter was reported to the Commercial Affairs Department for an independent investigation.
This is a particularly serious case because it involves a senior officer from CPIB whose mission is to maintain the integrity of the system. We will take strong measures to correct any weaknesses in processes, and the PMO is also looking to see whether there were supervisory lapses, and if so, we will take action against those responsible.
A statement from the Prime Minister's office says individual lapses can happen despite safeguards. But it adds that as long as the fundamental importance of honest government is upheld and other officers in the organisation are courageous enough to report when they think something is not right, such transgressions will be detected.
Public institutions and public officers are held to the highest standards of integrity and conduct. And what this means is that we need strong enforcement when there's wrongdoing. We need to correct weaknesses whenever we find them. But most important of all, the foundation is good values.
Yeo is out on bail of $500,000 and his case will be heard again on 21st August.
Here's a closer look at what CPIB Assistant Director Edwin Yeo was accused of misappropriating. He allegedly stole more than $1.7 million from the CPIB. Of that sum, almost $1.1 million was meant for goods and services for his department. About $470,000 was meant for the department's operational expenses and $152,000 for unspecified purposes. In addition, Yeo is accused of misappropriating almost $47,000 worth of vehicles, 2 Honda Civic cars and 2 Honda motorcycles. The CPIB comes under the purview of the Prime Minister's office, and when this case surfaced, Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong appointed an independent review panel to look at how it happened. The aim was to strengthen the financial procedures and audit system in the CPIB to prevent a recurrence. The Prime Minister has accepted the panel's recommendations and they are being implemented. As Ramesh with more.
There have been a number of high-profile cases in Singapore recently involving senior civil servants who have run foul of the law. Government leaders acknowledge that people are understandably concerned if this reflected systemic issues in the public service. Law Minister Shanmugam says the case involving a CPIB officer is deeply disappointing and disturbing if the allegations against him are true.
The real way, what you can do, is to make sure this doesn't become the cancer that spreads right through, that the system as a whole is clean, not infected. And for that, you need, as I said, leadership which is honest, prepared to deal with it openly and, in court, regardless of who it is, take action, have strict laws, and also learn the lesson from each time when something happens to see whether there are any rules that need to be changed. But you will know every now and then this will happen. But the whole task is to make sure that they are a distinct minority.
The CPIB is governed by the Civil Services Instruction Manuals, and like all public officers, CPIB officers also have to file annual declarations about their financial liabilities and also confirm that they are free from financial embarrassment. But in Edwin Yeo's case, there were instances where such procedures and declarations were circumvented. Earlier this year, the Prime Minister's office asked the Commercial Affairs Department and CPIB to conduct a study of public officers investigated by them for corruption and other financial crimes over the last 5 years to see whether there was any change in their number or profile. The Prime Minister's office says, on average, CPIB opened 39 cases involving public officers per year for investigation. These cases made up about 20% of all cases opened by CPIB. About 2/3 of the investigations involving public officers led to prosecution or disciplinary proceedings. As for the Commercial Affairs Department, the number of cases involving public officers each year was about 1 to 3 a year. The total number of cases opened by CAD each year ranged from 600 to more than 1,000. On the study's findings, the head of the civil service will share them with public sector officers and make the key findings public. GPC Chair for Law and Home Affairs, Sri Kumar, says keeping the numbers low also requires constant vigilance, and one way could be whistleblowing.
That's important. I think even if there's no formal whistleblowing structures in place, the system must have, there must be confidence in the system where employees or any officers who feel that something needs to be done, they should feel free to speak up about such issues and not feel that they'll be marked against. I think that confidence is there. The public service has got certain ethos where public officers will speak up if they feel something is going wrong.
CPIB's Director Eric Tan says he is deeply sorry that a loss of public funds occurred during his watch. And as the most senior officer in the agency, he says he accepts responsibility for any lapses or deficiencies which allowed senior staff's actions to go undetected for 4 years. He says CPIB will learn from this and will strengthen the safeguards and improve its processes to prevent the incident from happening again.
This is not the first time a CPIB officer has been taken to task for wrongdoing. Imelda Saad looks at past cases.
There have been 2 other cases involving errant CPIB officers in the past 2 decades. In 1997, Chan To Kai, a senior special investigator with the Bureau, was found guilty of cheating. He was sentenced to 1 year's jail. In 2002, Sogamaran Gopal Ramachandran, a senior research officer, was found guilty of accepting gratification to divulge information about investigations into 2 police officers attached to the Criminal Investigations Department. He was sentenced to 2 years' jail. The CPIB said any officer found guilty of wrongdoing will be dealt with firmly.
Other than implementing the measures proposed by the independent review panel, the CPIB says it has also put in place some recommendations specific to the Field Research and Technical Support Division, which Edwin Yeo worked in. Imelda Saad again.
The Field Research and Technical Support Division provides technical support to the Bureau's investigations and operations. The recommendations which have taken effect at the division include enhancing financial controls, having mandatory credit bureau checks for staff, setting up a separate administrative section for the department, increasing the number of senior supervisory staff there, and mandatory job rotation for staff holding key positions.
But observers say even with the most rigorous systems in place, it's only as good as the extent to which these procedures are followed. So as part of the review, the Prime Minister's office is also looking into the possibility of lapses by supervisors. And if so, these officers will also be dealt with.
In a statement, the Auditor General's office said each year it selects specific areas for audit. This is to identify weaknesses in internal controls and check on compliance with financial rules and regulations. The AGO will also check for excesses, extravagance or inefficiencies leading to waste and whether measures to prevent them are in place. In selecting areas for audit, the AGO said it takes into account the risk of irregularities occurring in those areas and their impact